A panel discussion organized by the Center for Poverty Analysis aimed at discussing the impact of recently imposed US tariffs on the vulnerable export markets and private sector engaged in product exports took place yesterday.
If you take the last year figures, the tea brought about 1.4 billion USD, whilst rubber it was around 1.1 billion. The emerging crop for foreign exchange, coconut brought about 825 million for last year. So balance, when I say the 5 billion, the rest is coming from cinnamon and other export agricultural crops. So you may have seen from the figures or from the statistics, we employ over the entire plantation sector per se. The importance of USA is because we export more than 330 million USD to USA, and out of that, we are the world leader for industrial tires, which is also called the solid tires, and all the big players like Yokohama, Michelin, GRI, various world leading brands are here, and they have established their factories in this country. Of course, with the tariff, not only because of the tariff, even without the this aggregated situation, we have this sector has lots of issues in running their businesses.
Many countries would like to give because we don't have that markup. But we expect that this fully, the additional tariff or duty will be passed to the consumer. So if this is passed to the consumer, what will happen? Consumer spending will be lesser because their purchasing power is not will go up by 20%. And I think the apparel and fashion and apparel market probably is only second to the pharmaceutical market. It's much higher than many other spendings. But yet, if you look at, if someone has to drop, I mean, you have your purchasing power, for some reason you can't manage with that money, first item to drop is apparel. Not food, they can't do, not pharmaceutical things, you can't. Accommodation, no. Schooling, insurance, all these things, they can't. But reduce the money that they'll be spending for the fashion and apparel. So considering that, we have a worry that overall this will lead to a slump in the demand of apparels. And if that happens, what will happen to Sri Lanka? So we can expect an overall decline in demand. But, assuming that China, US will keep still that 55% tariff on China, 50% tariff on India, then I think the impact for Sri Lanka will be almost nothing, zero. Because they will move some orders from China or India where the tariff is much higher. And also Sri Lanka is not very small exporter compared to many of these exporters. Bangladesh exports about 8 times higher than Sri Lanka. I'm talking only of apparel.
I think the damage that we have done to our own export sector is much more than turbulent tariff problem. The US is trying to do to our export sector. I think the biggest damage has been done by ourselves. And that's exactly the reason for why we are in a crisis situation also. We borrowed heavily from external sources, and when we want to pay those external debt, we have to pay it in dollars. But how do we pay it when we are earning $13 billion?
The discussion covered tariff impacts on vulnerable export-dependent communities, social protections, and how the private sector can support them, especially in tea, rubber and coconut sectors.